Yeah, a couple of minutes ago you were saying who has to pay taxes.
Who has to pay?
Yeah, you were saying, you explained to some man. You said all, shall.
There was. I could probably dig through my files and find it real quick. A partner of mine with, I'm going to refrain from saying his name because I don't have his authority to say anything, but he did the research on one of the statutes, and for the life of me, I'm believing that it's 12 Stat 479, and that original statute basically, and I'm going to paraphrase here, it's not going to be verbatim, but it basically said that any citizen abroad or any person here is hereinafter, obligated to pay a tax. And then it goes into, what specific taxes and blah, blah, blah. Well, that distinction between a person and a citizen caused him to write to the Congressional Research Committee and ask them what the difference was, because obviously not everyone has to pay, only citizens that are abroad and persons here, so it pales the question of what exactly is a citizen. And they wrote him back and told him that the word person replaced aliens, as in aliens from foreign countries. So if an alien from a foreign country comes over here to live, they have to pay a tax, where it doesn't say citizens and aliens, it just says person. Well, if the word person was an alien, then that clearly identifies that aliens that come over here have to pay the income tax, where citizens only have to pay it if they're abroad. And that goes into, I'm quite sure you're familiar with, the lien levy and garnishment section of the Internal Revenue Code, which only applies to civil servants and so on, and as well as aliens that are here. And it's kind of interesting how all that is kind of intertwined in the current day.
It was a very simple question. I was just asking if you go back and listen to the recording, I don't know, about a half an hour ago, all I know, he was saying something about all persons and all citizens and all aliens shall, pay whatever taxes, whatever you were saying about.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up that.
Yeah, whatever you said like a half an hour ago, something with the word shall in it. Like I don't know what you do for a living. I don't know. I don't know if you're a mechanic, a plumber. I don't know what you do for a living. What do you do for? What's your occupational trade? What do you actually do for a living?
Who, me? Oh, I work at an auto dealer.
Oh, okay. I just wondering because everybody who knows, who even these state troopers. When I got talked to a young state trooper about 22, 23 years old the other day, he said registration on this vehicle has expired. I said, that's nice. I said, as much as this vehicle, and I shall let her know. And I said to him, she will re-register this, sometime in the future. And he said, well, I shall return. So then when he gave me the citation, I said, you do understand what the word shall means? He said, yes. We were taught that at the state troopers, like the police academy. And shall means sometime in the future, but it has no force and effect at this time. So when you folks keep saying that you're reading these codes, you're saying all persons and all citizens and all aliens shall, it doesn't mean now. It has absolutely nothing to do with the present.
Interesting point.
Well, it's not an interesting point because, like I said, even the young state trooper knew what it meant. He said, we're taught at the police academy that we have absolutely no jurisdiction over you people. I said, then why do you do what you do? He said, because, that's what they order us to do. He said, this is what we do.
Yep.
So like I said, it's very simple. All these people, all these legislators, they all understand about this word shall. And if you look in every single code book, it's like all persons shall and all citizens shall and all like I asked you a very simple question, and this is what would drive me totally nuts. If somebody like you or an IRS agent or a judge or somebody said this to me, did you call me citizen, or did you call me person, or did you call me defendant, or did you call me plaintiff, did you call me judge, did you call me prosecutor, did you call me this? Yeah. Do you know you called me a what? Oh, a defendant has to pay. Okay, a citizen has to pay, an alien has to pay. That's a what. It's not a who. Okay? Mm-hmm. You guys are missing the super simple. Are you saying all citizens must pay, all persons must pay? Yeah,
Yep.
okay, that's a what? It's not a who.
Taxpayer has to pay.
What's that?
Anybody.
A taxpayer has to pay.
Okay, that's a what? That's a what?
That's
Do I
right.
look like a what to you, or do I look like a who?
You look like a who to me.
Yeah,
Ooh.
I'm not a what.
All right. So what else?
Okay,
Anything
that's
else?
one thing. Another thing is, well, first, the first thing I always ask everybody is, first of all, when you guys use these rulings like Rock Class did, what the court tells you, we couldn't possibly care less what your interpretation of the United States Supreme Court rulings are. We couldn't care less what your interpretation of precedents or case law or the code. We couldn't care less.
Yep.
So why bother using it if they're telling you they don't care? What your interpretation is, you have no certification, you're not a member of the legal society. Why would we care to listen to what you have to say? Okay, and like I said, actually you can say that's rhetorical. You don't have to answer that. And then the very simple thing that happened today. Did anybody read the ruling today about the Affordable Care Act? Did anybody read about the Obamacare ruling today?
No, I heard about it, but I didn't read it. No.
Okay, well, all these citations and all these public laws that Congress is creating, the judges ruled 6-3, except for obviously, Scalia, the number one guy, love him to death, and Thomas, the guy who hangs alongside him, which is great. It was a 6-3 ruling, and the Scalia and Thomas obviously did it right, just like I would say. When you give your word, when you say this is your word, you live and die by that word, whether you wanted to say it at that time or not, or whether you were in error at the time, too bad. You etched it in stone, you live and die by your word. Well, they agreed. Well, the other 6 justices said, especially Roberts, he wrote the opinion for the court, and he said, well, even though the statute might have used these words, and maybe this phrase they might have used, we believe that that's not what they meant to say. We believe, that they really meant to say, no, even though here it says yes, we really believe it means no. So, we're going to interpret that the words that they used in this Affordable Care Act are not correct, and these are the words that they should have used, and these are the words that we believe they meant to use. Right. So no matter what these codes are and these statutes and these public rules, these public laws are, when it gets before a judge, the judge is going to interpret. He's like, well, that's a lovely code. That's a lovely statute. That's a lovely public law. But you know what? Honestly, I don't really think they meant to say that. I think it means something completely opposite. So where the judge is and justice is, so we're gonna say that the public law, and the statutes. No, that's not what it means. We're gonna interpret this way instead. So you can master the public law, you can master the statute, you can master the codes, and when you get in front of a judge, the judge is gonna say like, no, you know what? I don't think that's really what they meant. And you can show them their own definitions, the definitions of the court, and the judges will not care less. They did that in a court in England. The man.
That's what they do, Carl. I can't argue with you because that's exactly what they do. We all know that. What I like to do, to kind of defend
what I'm saying is, flooding their courts in the cases that they establish, you're wasting your time. It's just like when I was over in England and the judge allowed the witness, we call the witness, to testify. And obviously the rules are the other side has 30 days to have the witness list and know who's going to be, so they could examine the witness, make sure he's credible. They could do a background check on the witness. So obviously we didn't have, I wasn't in there for 30 days before the trial, so it was like 22 days or 28 days. So the barrister, the prosecutor, he did a really, he did a wonderful job. He said, well, if you allow the witness to appear, he said, you're in clear violation of Rule 17B. And and throughout the history of England, we have a very rigid standard and procedures that we all must abide by. And obviously, clearly, the defendant did not follow proper procedure and proper form. So we're going to have to request of this court to deny the witness to testify. And the judge said overruled. I'm going to allow the witness to testify. And the barrister, I'll call him prosecutor, the prosecutor got extremely
verbal with the judge. He started saying, Your Honor, maybe you don't seem to understand what I just said. In England, we follow certain procedures to the letter of the law. We do not deviate. We do this in extreme, rigid fashion. If you go off the rail and you just decide to, 17B is no longer relevant, well, then what's the next rule you're going to say is no longer relevant? Rule 23, Rule 27, you're just going to start whimsically just deciding what rules apply to you. You do know you're a member of the legal society, Your Honor. You do understand that you have a duty to perform. And you do realize that you must abide by these certain set of rules and conduct. And you must abide by these procedures. And the judge was like, overruled. I'm going to allow them to bring the witness forward. And then the prosecutor went crazy. I mean, he flipped his wig. He started barking at the judge. He was shaking the rail. I mean, he was livid, saying, I have no idea what you're pulling. What in the world is going on in this court? Do you not understand the simple rules? How long have you been on the bench? Do you not understand what you're creating? Do you understand the chaos you're going to start? Do you understand what's going to happen if we don't all abide by the rules? Do you understand what's going to happen to this justice system in England? I mean, the prosecutor was awesome. But these judges are going to just do whatever they damn well want.
Right.
Why allow them to even have a voice in the matter? Why even bring it to the judge? Why even play in their case? Because
real simple. Real simple. If you don't say anything, you lose. You may as well stand up and at least make the judge
that's exactly
look
how you
bad.
win. You win by saying nothing. Because that proves they never had jurisdiction. As soon as you open your mouth, it proves they had jurisdiction. It's very simple.
So you're telling me if I go into a court of law and the judge starts to talk and I say I'm challenging your jurisdiction, I lost because I said I'm challenging jurisdiction.
Because a judge spoke, a what spoke, not a who. So you're being controlled by what's. So you're a what. When a what talks to you and a what responds, well, what's got jurisdiction over the what. I'm a man, I'm a who, I'm not a what. So when a judge tries to speak to me and says, who's speaking to me? Oh, I'm speaking to you. What's your name, Bob? Bob Smith? No, I'm the judge. Oh, you're a what or a who? The judge is a what. I'm asking who. It's very simple. And you guys are just making this way too freaking complicated.
Okay, and I'm not challenging you. I'm not saying it's not happening, but where's the proof that it works?
Gus got out of jail. Gus got out of felon with possession of firearms 2-3 weeks ago. He was arrested. He was arrested about 3 or 4 weeks ago for possession of felon and possession of a firearm at 3 o'clock in the morning. Gus was on a show last week. You go listen to that call, and we explained in great detail what we did. Another man from West Virginia called up Andrew's show last week with proof, saying that he was arrested for domestic violence, fighting with the police officers, assaulting the police officers, and resisting arrest. All the charges were discharged by the prosecutor. The same thing with Gus. Gus didn't put in a motion to dismiss. I told Gus, and I told the other man, you do not make a motion to dismiss. How would you like it if somebody made a motion to dismiss your case? You believe you have a wonderful case. You believe you have a great suit. You want to try that suit on in an open forum. How dare somebody deny you the ability to put on your case and try your suit before the court? I said, so it's nice that the prosecutor dismissed their own case. It's nice that the prosecutor discharged their own case. Don't you dare ask them to dismiss their case. You let them perform. Because when you bring your court in, and you bring your case and your suit, heaven forbid anybody tries to interfere with my ability to put on my suit to the world, to the public, to the forum. I won't allow it. You're going to give me access to that court. I have just as much right to this public courthouse as anybody else, including that man who's acting as a prosecutor. So like I said, it's do I have proof? Go listen to Angela. Angela heard Gus talk about it. He was a felon. He got sentenced to 23 years. They let him out in 1.5 years, a couple of years ago. He had a gun in the back seat. They went to go collect the van from somebody who wouldn't return the van. The cops stopped him. Him and his buddy got arrested. Gus had a felony in his past, so obviously Gus had to spend a couple of days in jail until he was out. The other man only had a misdemeanor on him. The other man who was the passenger. It's funny. Gus's charges were dropped. The man who's the passenger, who only was charged with a misdemeanor, his charges are still ongoing because that man is a defendant and that man has an attorney.
Okay.
Gus had me. Gus had me.
Again, Carl, I'm not challenging anything you're saying. However, I come from a place where you can probably appreciate a lot of people say this works, this works, this works, and they say it, but they don't back it up. Hence, that's why I said earlier, Bubba said. If somebody says it, as Bubba said, where can we find the proof?
That's why I emailed the paperwork. I guarantee Angela has the paperwork where the prosecutor moved to no low prosecute Gus's case. And because Gus went to a preliminary hearing to see if it should be sent up to the grand jury for having an indictment, and the judge agreed that it should go to the grand jury. There was enough facts and evidence in the case to move it before the grand jury for an indictment. 2 days later, the prosecutor sent a no low prosecute notice to Gus. Okay? When I sent that paperwork out to dozens of people. And then the same thing with the man from West Virginia. He called up Angela's show, and here's the piece of paper with the prosecutor, the court date, the court cases, the charges against them, and they motioned to dismiss them all.
Right, and I completely agree with what you're saying there, and if Angela's got it, I can communicate with her on getting that information. However, let's transfer this topic now to a civil mortgage crisis somebody's going through. If they say nothing, what's going to happen, Carl? They're going to get stampeded. You're absolutely right, and I'm not challenging that because you're in a criminal section.
No. Angela's muting me. I can't answer you because Angela's muting me.
You're unmuted, Carl. I muted you momentarily so that Dan could respond, and then I would unmute you again.
He wanted me to answer a question, and since I didn't answer it within 3 seconds, he said, see, Carl, it didn't work.
Go ahead, Carl. Please, answer.
Okay, what was the question you said again?
Everything you spoke of was for criminal prosecutions, not civil. If somebody is in a civil issue where a bank files foreclosure documents in a court of law, if they say nothing, what's going to happen?
What you're going to do is you're going to bring in your claim that by their actions or inactions is causing man harm, and they exist only to cause no harm to man. If they ever cause harm to man, that they are no longer allowed to exist. Their charters to be pulled, and they're supposed to no longer be able to conduct business with man. And you don't believe that? Okay. What's funny is Angela had some other man call up one night, and he says, oh, that's crazy. And then I said, you know what, fine. Angela muted me. I went home. I called up an hour or two later, and the man apologized. He said, there's some hillbilly from Chattanooga. Called up, he said, a couple of years ago, you asked him for help on a foreclosure. He's living in his house still now for the last 2 years, and nobody from the bank is giving him any hard time anymore because I put a couple of simple letters to the bank.
I never said that you were crazy, Carl. I've never said that to you, and I won't say that, and I don't think you're crazy at all. This call right here is not designed for Dan Benham to come up here and talk. This is an invitation from Angela for open dialogue so that we can try to get our nation back. And if what you got works, hey, I'm all game for it, Carl. I'm not your enemy, brother. I'm here with you.
Yeah,
we're just trying to work. And what I was saying about the statute, by the way, it was 83 Stat 281 to be exact. It specifically says there is now imposed an income tax on any persons here or any citizens abroad. I'm just stating what the statute says.
That's lovely.
If people want to use it, fine. They don't have to use it. But I'm simply stating this is what Congress does.
Okay, what I'm trying to say, Congress is a what? Okay, a citizen or a person is a what? I am not a what. When somebody tries to talk to me, when somebody's trying to communicate with me, I'm going to make sure we're talking man to man. I'm going to make sure it's a who that is speaking to me. It's not a what that is speaking to me. I'm not going to talk to a what. I'm not going to talk to an IRS. IRS is a what. I'm going to talk to a man or a woman, and I'm going to say to that man or woman very clearly what you're claiming, what you're saying, what I owe. Do you believe it's true? And they're going to say, well, I don't believe it's true. Well, then what do you believe? Well, I believe you. Oh, really? And you're going to make yourself liable. You understand the simple law that's been around for thousands of years. If you make a claim that I owe you 2 pennies when I only owe you 1 penny, what was that claim? What happened when you did that in open court? It was instant death. You do not claim more than what is due. So, can you prove that this is exactly what I owe? Are you sure? To the penny, to the breath, to the hair. If you watch The Merchant of Venice, you see what they do to the Shylock at the end. Yes, you will get your pound of flesh, but if you're off by 1 hair, 1 breath, 1 drop of blood, one way or the other, you better collect your 1 pound. Because if you take 1 hair, 1 breath more than 1 pound, then you caused harm to man based upon your contract. And you will die immediately. So go ahead, Sherlock, and take your pound of flesh.
It's an ancient rule that's been going on for thousands and thousands of years. It has not changed.
You guys are making things too complicated. It's caveman rule. It's the old-fashioned rule. You can only claim what is due. If you make a claim that's a false claim, that one farthing, one breath, one hair more than is due.
It was very simple. It was a very simple concept for thousands of years. We are not going to tolerate a man or a woman coming before the court with a frivolous claim or complaints. We're not going to tolerate it. And we're going to show you what we do to people who bring false claims and frivolous complaints into the public. We're going to get rid of you. So that's all you have to do. No man who works for the government is ever going to make a claim.
All right,
They're
Karl.
never going to do it. Okay, well, like I said, I'm just trying to make things super simple because, it's going down. Like I said, thank God they made us the United States Supreme Court ruling today. It said, you know what, honestly, it doesn't matter what the Affordable Care Act says. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the words they use. That's fine. They also created a whole volume of just definitions. It doesn't matter because, you know what, we, the judges, we are so much smarter than the Congress, and we know they really didn't mean to say this. They really meant to say that. They must have just had a bad day. The couple of hundred congressmen, sometimes they just, they're not paying attention. So, the justices will interpret the law for you. We'll say no means yes and yes means no. We'll do it for you. So what's the purpose of having a Congress? What's the purpose of having public law? If the justices are just going to come and say, you know what? Well, no, you know what? We don't like that law the way it's written, and we're going to interpret it this way instead. So, like I said, just pay attention to kind of stuff like that you're kind of wasting your time, when you're trying to deal with these justices when you're talking about public law. They're not going to go read the opinion. It's a great opinion.
Right. I got it. I'm clear, and I will get with Angela and get some of those documents from her and do some research because I like easy. So I had a gentleman down in Tampa, Florida, called me up the night before court on a banking issue. He had to be to court next morning. There's no way that, at the time, there's no way I could come up with anything to put on a piece of paper for this gentleman. So I just told him to go into the courtroom, and when the court addressed him, stand up, don't even get in the bar, just stand up in the crowd, look at the judge and say, well, who are you? And when the judge says who he is, just say, well, do you have a claim against me? No, the prosecutor does. And ask the prosecutor, who are you? I mean, what do you hold against me? I mean, what do you got against me? And he said nothing. He said, I don't have anything. I represent the lender. And he said, well, since no one here's got any kind of claims or issues with me, I'm gone. And he left, and everything went mute. And a year later, nothing had been done. So I asked him to just file a motion to dismiss for failure to prosecute, and the whole case went away.
Wow. That's lovely.
Yeah, it's quite interesting conversation there, Karl. So I don't disagree with you. I don't think you're crazy. I'm wide open, man. I'm so tired of fighting this crap, and I just wish it would just go back to happy.